Welcome back to Equities.com. We're at the Vancouver Resource Investment Conference. My name is Galen Engen, and I'm sitting here with Dale Paruk, who is the Vice President of BlackIce Enterprises. Morning, Dale. Good to have you out here.
Thank you.
Now, you've got some really interesting things here to discuss today, and a lot of it has to do with the Great Recession and the banking crisis of 2007. Because of regulations put into place, the Basel and the Dodd-Frank international banking regulations, there's a tremendous challenge now being faced by the international banking industry. Can you explain just what they're up against and how BlackIce will fit into that picture?
Sure. The banks are under a tremendous amount of pressure to report and keep track of what risks that they have. And unfortunately, it's a difficult process for them because they're dealing with millions and millions of pieces of data on a daily basis. So the problem that the banks have is that they use various different softwares. A lot of them are a bit archaic. And on a daily basis, they really don't know where they stand as far as risk management goes. So we've written some software over the last 7-8 years. The chairman of our company has been doing consulting internationally. He's got associates that are retired bank officials, and the consulting that he's done has led to basically over 100 different reports that we can provide for the banks. By putting that all into a software package, we're now able to deliver to the banks a system that allows them to manage all their data in one location. And the data it really is an astronomical problem in managing all of that. So what we've done is given them a way to look at their worldwide exposure, both on an international basis where they might have to report to the central bank, or if they're the 20 largest banks in the world, they have to report daily to the Federal Reserve, but also to do that on a management basis so that they can use the same computer data and look at it on a report that they would send into the officials, or look at it to see what risk they have on an individual branch basis, or even down to the data for the individual customer. So it's a tremendous improvement for them. In a lot of cases, the banks aren't able to do this. It takes them weeks and weeks to put together a report. So it's a big step forward for the banks.
Now, the regulators are pushing hard to make this in place. For instance, they're saying that, 2017, you've got to be operating according to these regulations, but realistically, they're pushing to do it now. So as far as BlackIce is concerned, this actually poses a pretty good potential for you in the short term in regards to revenue generation. What are some projections that you guys are looking at?
Well, the numbers are pretty exciting. We're basically just launching the program now. We've been working on this for about 7 years. And in the last 12 months, we've been dealing with a lot of banks in Asia that are under a lot of pressure to do this, and they also have availability some funding. In some cases, the Canadian government will actually fund some of these projects. So our chairman has been living in Malaysia for 7 years, and we're dealing very closely now with several banks in Vietnam. We just had a seminar last week in Vietnam where there were 17 banks that were out. And we're also putting together some tenders for some business in South Africa. So these projects can be extremely large. Each one will be different, of course. It depends on what level of reporting the banks need. But we're talking $500,000 plus per installation. And then there's ongoing maintenance and, of course, upgrading to the reports as time goes on and regulations change. So it could be a huge business. This should be a breakout year for us. All of the development of the software is completed, and we should be into sales here in the next couple of months.
Now, that being said, with all the development being completed, you guys are looking at a fairly good margin on your profits, correct?
Yes, that's the nice thing, is that with software, we've put a lot of money into it over the last 7 years, but at this point, once we start selling the programs, we're looking at 50% plus profit margins, and then ongoing maintenance fees as well. So, and the nice thing too is that we have IBM as a partner. They're quite keen on this program. They have a very high-end database computing system called Netezza that they sell the computing power to the banks, but they don't have a software to make it run. So in partnership with IBM, we'll probably open a lot more doors. We're also developing a cloud-based product with IBM that would be probably more attractive in the United States. So our sales are just on the verge of really exploding. The next couple of years could be quite exciting.
Absolutely. Now, considering what the service here is you're offering and how it would make the regulators and the bank's job much easier, I'm assuming that you're getting a tremendous amount of support from governmental bodies and other types of regulatory agencies?
That's right. In a lot of these countries, we start out by dealing with the central bank, and once we convince them that our software will work for them, obviously the banks in the country are going to want to deal with the same software because it'll make it easier for them to report with the central bank. We're talking to the central bank in Vietnam right now, and also in China we've been making some inroads there as well. And then in Africa we're talking to Nedbank, which tends to be one of the leaders in the industry. So we're at the point now where once a few of these banks sign up with us, probably the others will follow very quickly.
Interesting. So now you guys have more partners that you are trying to bring on board that are currently in discussion. Do you want to talk about any of those?
Sure. We're talking to some of the accounting firms, like Ernst & Young is looking to be a partner with us. A lot of the banks, of course, would be dealing through their auditors, and so if we make an inroad with an auditor, it just makes it that much easier and gives us more credibility to deal with the bank.
Now, all that aside, you guys have a tremendous potential happening here, and it seems like all the ducks are in a row. Is there anything that keeps you up at night in regards to the operations that might go sideways?
Well, some of these things do take time. You know, you're dealing with banks and foreign governments, and it doesn't happen overnight. You know, we've been dealing in Vietnam for over a year. We've been dealing in China for over 2 years. We like to think that we're on the verge of some significant sales, but you know, these things can get delayed. Some of the funding that we're expecting would come through government agencies in Canada, and again, there's a lot of red tape and regulation when we're dealing with the government. But all signs look very positive, and I think we're within a few months of significant sales.
Well, this all sounds very exciting. I'll be sure to keep my eye on it, and I want to thank you for joining us today. It's been a wonderful discussion.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Take care.